Destiny 2 has brought tons of exotic weapons from Destiny 1 over the years, but today I wanted to take a look at the exotics from Destiny 1 not yet brought to Destiny 2 and discuss which ones should come to the game and which ones should probably stay behind and remain in D1. First, we'll take a look at the exotic weapons I'd like to see return, then some that I'm a little more mixed about, and finally the ones I don't think should or will return. Now up first is Patience and Time. This was an exotic sniper rifle that never really saw a lot of use in PvP or PvE. The perks were Third Eye, where your radar stays active while aiming down sight, and Patience and Time, where you gain active camouflage while aiming down sights. This weapon did find some use in PvP, I guess, thanks to having Snapshot and Third Eye as perks, and if you were hard scoping lanes it could be useful because you were invisible, but there still was sniper glint shown so you weren't totally invisible to the enemies, but it worked well enough. PvE, maybe it would have been a little bit nicer had you actually stayed invisible after shooting a shot, but once you shot, your camouflage went away. Now in Destiny 2, I don't think this weapon would be that great if it were to transfer just the way it is, but I think I have an idea on how I'd like to see it come over to Destiny 2. Combine its perk set with another exotic weapon from Destiny 1, the Hereafter. Now the Hereafter was another exotic sniper that also didn't see much use in D1, despite having some really interesting perks. One of the perks increased scope zoom while crouching and made it easier to aim under fire. Another perk was precision kills with this weapon cause a bright flash and can blind nearby enemies. And magazine is refunded if all shots fired are precision kills. Now removing the increased zoom while crouching, which is pretty much useless, I think this sniper was really cool and did actually have some utility. It could help out in nightfalls at times thanks to its blinding shot, and occasionally you could get the refunded magazine shots. Both the Patience and Time and the Hereafter I don't think are exotic enough to justify their use alone, but combining their perks together into one of them would be perfect. You'd become the ultimate sneaky trickster sniper in the game. Being camouflaged, blinding enemies, refunding magazine shots, it could be an awesome exotic. If you were to put these perks on the Patience and Time weapon model, as I think it feels and looks better than the Hereafter, I think we've got ourselves a great exotic in Destiny 2. Up next is Dragon's Breath. Now Dragon's Breath was an exotic rocket launcher that had some reworks over the years. In D1 Year 1, all it did was leave behind a solar grenade when it impacted on a target, which was cool I guess, but still nowhere near as good as Gjallarhorn or Cluster Bomb rockets. And in Year 2 the weapon was changed in a pretty major way. Now we have the Napalm perk. Release trigger after weapon fire to drop a solar damage napalm canister. Pretty goddamn cool, right? It left quite a big pile of napalm flames when you activated it, covering the entire floor in fire. Surplus and Who's Next were its other perks, which, to be honest, kinda sucked. However, the damage now was actually enough to rival the Gjallarhorn, and would actually do more damage per shot than the Gjallarhorn, as long as you were hitting a stationary target. Still, it didn't find much use for a few reasons. No tracking or proximity explosion, only one round in the magazine, and a slow as hell velocity, which was kind of required in order to get this perk to work properly. But despite its obvious damage buff, it just didn't do it for players because it lacked ease of use. Having to hold the trigger down to release canisters could be annoying and hard to pull off, and if you missed your shot thanks to no tracking, it could be very frustrating. But I think Dragon's Breath has a place in Destiny 2. Not only could this thing be a major ad clear machine, but it could get the addition of things like Incandescent. Make the napalm drop just on contact rather than needing to drop it ourselves. And maybe give it some increased reload speed, something like that. With just a couple changes, I think Dragon's Breath could be one of the best rocket launchers in Destiny 2. Next up is both the Abaddon and Novamortis machine guns. These were the solar and void versions of Thunderlord. They behaved in the exact same way as Thunderlord, only solar and void elements. In Destiny 2, I'd really like to see these weapons brought back with a few changes. Maybe with the Abaddon, the solar machine gun, it could spawn those lava bursts like the Warlock's solar grenade, instead of lightning strikes like the Thunderlord. Novamortis could maybe be a debuff weapon that debuffs higher the longer you shoot it, like maybe up to 10% at max fire rate, and spontaneously combust void explosions every 15 rounds or so. And I guess it could be possible that they wouldn't even need to have Abaddon and Novamortis into the game separately from Thunderlord, and instead just give Thunderlord the option of equipping each elemental type, kinda similar to Hardlight. But that might make Thunderlord a bit too strong of an option if you have all three elements at your fingertips for something like GM Nightfalls. Maybe it would have to be equipped in the weapon screen ahead of time to kind of skirt that issue. Or maybe, and this is how I prefer it happen, they could just bring the two weapons into the game on their own. Maybe it's an unpopular idea since they're basically the same as Thunderlord, but personally I'd really like to see him return. Necrochasm, the Crota's End exotic auto rifle. Necrochasm started out as one of the worst guns in the game to being one of the best guns by the end of year 3. It had Cascade, where melee kills reload a portion of the weapon mag, Zen Moment causing damage increases weapon stability, and finally its unique perk, Cursebringer. Kills with this weapon trigger a Cursed Thrall explosion. This weapon is basically the auto rifle equivalent of Sunshot. In Destiny 2, I could see this weapon being an SMG rather than an auto rifle if it wants to remain at that high rate of fire archetype from Destiny 1. And I could also see this weapon being considered a weapon of sorrow and thereby receive all the buffs related to those weapon types like Thorn, Malfeasance, and Touch of Malice. I'd also really like to see something else added to its intrinsic perk, like maybe Cursed Thrall explosions slow nearby enemies or blind them or something. Whatever they decide to do, I hope this weapon comes back. And if at some point Crota's End makes a return to Destiny 2, then it might be possible. Young Wolf's Howl. This exotic sword came from beating the Rise of Iron campaign, and while aesthetically looked pretty great and was visually pleasing when you used its unique attack, it just was not that strong at all. Its perk Howling Flame says, used to unleash a fiery solar eruption that weakens enemies and deals damage over time. The debuff it applied was 15% for 6 seconds, but the damage over time was underwhelming. Now I would love to see this weapon return to Destiny 2 because I think it has much more potential in the D2 sandbox. Nightfall content against champions with the debuff would be awesome. Maybe just bring its duration up to like 10 seconds or so, and slightly increase its damage over time. I think bringing this one to Destiny 2 with just a few tweaks would be great. Next we have Zen Meteor, which was another exotic sniper rifle released during the April update, and it had one of the more interesting exotic perks. Dynamite, which grants explosive rounds, and rapid kills with every round in the clip load an extra higher damage round for 5 seconds. And the other perk, with a laser beam, the extra round from Dynamite causes a massive explosion. Now this gun was awesome, but a little weak all things considered. In Destiny 2, I think it would be best if instead of needing 3 kills to proc the Dynamite perk, we instead just needed to land 3 crits. This would be great in something like Nightfalls or even raids for DPS, so long as the explosion granted by the laser beam perk was substantial. It could be equivalent to something like the Dynamite explosion from the new Solar 3.0 Hunter Dynamite stick, maybe even give it a catalyst that grants 2 explosive rounds loaded after 3 crits instead of just 1. This thing was one tweak away from being top tier in D1, and I think if they were to bring it to D2 and make a couple changes like that, it would be really cool. Now let's move on to the weapons that I wouldn't mind seeing, but probably could live without. First up is Twilock. This exotic scout rifle was a Warlock exclusive that I was leaning more towards wanting to see come to Destiny 2, but when I really thought about it, I'm not so sure. Its perk Overflow granted increased handling, rate of fire, and stability while the wielder's super is charged. And that doesn't sound all that exciting, but it didn't decrease the impact, so it made it one of the fastest shooting scout rifles while maintaining a fairly high impact. And in PvP, this thing was a monster, and PvE, it wasn't bad either. The only reason I'm not too keen on it returning is that it's a bit of a counterintuitive weapon. It relies solely on the player not using their super, which is a bit annoying. If it were brought forward, I can't see there being anything else that would be an equal trade-off though, so it would probably have to remain the same. But I don't think that a weapon that revolves around you not using your super is a good thing for the game. And with the current state of PvP, I think it would dominate a little too much over there and just get nerfed eventually. Nemesis Star. On trigger pull, this weapon's initial burst has a higher rate of fire. When holding down the trigger, range and accuracy increase as rate of fire decreases. Kills grant bonus grenade energy. Nemesis Star was really an underwhelming exotic that is basically just a reverse Thunderlord. It's a machine gun with D2's Adagio perk, and while it wasn't the worst gun in the world, let's be honest, nobody used this thing. I wouldn't mind seeing it return with some tweaks or buffs because the weapon did look really cool and had a great sight, but it just didn't feel exotic. First Curse. This was the yin to the Last Word's yang. Last Word being an ultra fast firing full auto hand cannon, and the First Curse being a slow firing, high impact precision based weapon. The perks were Deadeye, bonus to range, stability, and movement speed when aiming down sight, triple tap, and the First Curse. First precision kill of the magazine refills it, granting bonuses to range and stability until the player reloads. This was really an underwhelming gun in just about every single way. I see what Bungie were trying to do when they made this weapon, being the opposite to the Last Word and everything, but it just didn't really deliver. I can see some tweaks being made for it for the D2 sandbox, but ultimately this gun left much to be desired, and I'm not sure what Bungie could do with it for D2. Fabian Strategy is up next, and this was the Titan exclusive auto rifle that just absolutely sucked, to be honest. Its main perk, Frontlines, increased handling, stability, and rate of fire when enemies are close. Kills automatically reload a portion of the magazine. Probably one of the most underwhelming exotic perks that was outclassed by almost every single legendary in the game. I don't think there was much you could do with this gun based on its Frontlines perk, so if it were ever brought to Destiny 2, it would probably just need a complete overhaul, and I don't really think it's worth it. The Boolean Gemini is a similar case as Fabian Strategy. While a much better weapon than Fabian Strategy, Boolean Gemini was also just outclassed by so many other legendaries of the same archetype. Its perks were a choice between one way or another. Bonus agility on precision kills, stacking up to 3 times, or bonus armor on non-precision kills, stacking up to 3 times. Kind of the most useless exotic perks, one of which encourages not hitting precision shots. And if it weren't for the way the gun felt and handled, paired with the red dot sight, then probably nobody would have ever used this gun. If it were ever brought to Destiny 2, I think a lot more would need to be done to make it worthwhile. No Land Beyond, the bolt action sniper. This gun was loved amongst PvP sweats, but was also just kind of a fun exotic. It had Mulligan, where missing a shot had a chance to return ammo, and the Master, which increased precision damage and kills briefly increased damage against the next target. It also was a primary weapon in D1, meaning it could be paired with other snipers or other special weapons, which made it unique at the time. I can't really see this gun ever being great in PvE in Destiny 2, but I could see it being more tailored toward PvP. I think it would be both great and awful to bring this thing back because it could potentially be super strong again like it was during D1 when it was in the right hands. Now let's talk about the exotics I don't think should return or likely won't be. Universal Remote. I think it's a bit self-explanatory why this one shouldn't return because it was only really unique in D1 because it could be equipped as a primary. The exotic perk increased range and precision damage while aiming down sights, and besides how cool it looked, I don't see any reason to bring it back. Super Good Advice was a terrible machine gun. The perk allowed for missed shots to be returned to the magazine. Landed shots may be replaced in your mag from reserves. Pretty much just a worse version of Subsistence. And the only time you ever saw this gun in Destiny 1 was during the Oracles encounter in Vault of Glass, because hitting Oracles didn't count as a target, so it basically shot infinitely. I don't see a reason to bring this one to D2 at all. Next we have the Kvostov, and while I really love this gun in some ways, it was just a prime example of jack of all trades, master of none. It had the ability to change its weapon type to auto, scout, and pulse, which was kinda cool on paper, but just didn't translate well in the grand scheme of things. Maybe Bungie could do something interesting with it in Destiny 2. I know there's a lot of people who want this gun, but personally I'm okay if it stays in D1. Next up is Plan C. Plan C's uniqueness is all but gone now in Destiny 2 because almost every single legendary fusion rifle can basically become Plan C. Backup Plan, the perk, was basically this weapon's exotic perk in Destiny 1. I don't think there's much of a reason to bring it to Destiny 2 unless it received some sort of crazy buff version with Reservoir Burst that was worthy of taking up an exotic slot, but it really makes more sense if it were just left behind. Dreg's Promise. Dreg's Promise is basically just a worse version of the Trespasser. Icebreaker is a weapon that was broken in many regards in both PvE and PvP. It regenerated ammo over time and capped out at 6 shots. And while I love this weapon in Destiny 1, I just don't think it would be that useful in Destiny 2. And if buffed in any way, could just become another broken weapon, so it's probably just best if it stays behind. Invective. This weapon poses a similar problem as Icebreaker. It regenerated ammo over time. It was just a little bit underwhelming outside of that. Pocket Infinity was a completely broken weapon that was really the first broken weapon in Destiny history. It would crash your game, it was unbelievably unbalanced in PvP, but it was awesome. It fired full auto and replenished ammo when you missed shots with it. It was nuts. Weapons like Merciless and Bastion have pretty similar features and they've basically replaced it to some degree in Destiny 2, and Bungie has already confirmed they won't be bringing this gun to Destiny 2, which is understandable. Red Death was replaced with Crimson. They work basically the exact same way, so because there's Crimson, there's no reason for Red Death to return. Zalo Supercell is kind of the same story where it was basically Risk Runner, but Risk Runner is actually a much better version of this gun. And finally, the exotic swords, which have been replaced by legendary versions like the Falling Guillotine. Not really a reason to bring them back. And that is all the exotic weapons from Destiny 1 yet to come to Destiny 2. Let me know what weapons you'd like to see return in the comments section. Subscribe for my next video where we're going to cover all the exotic armor from Destiny 1 yet to come to Destiny 2. And I'll see you all in my next video.